Hello, my name is Juin Kuan. I'm the Chief Data Officer of NTU. And today what I'm going to talk about is basically a way step back from the previous two speakers. You have seen a lot of, getting a lot of information, getting a lot of exciting things that happens at the forefront of AI and Gen AI. I'm going to just step back and really, and also very selfishly ask your help to help me address two challenges that I have faced in my job. So I'm going to share with you those two challenges, and then I will also share with you what my approaches are for those two challenges, and I welcome a suggestion on maybe there are other ways to help me solve those two challenges. And these challenges arises from, my 9 months of spending my time here as a CDO for NTU and trying to address quite a few decisions that my senior management is making, and hopefully, it can help my job, lighten my job a little bit, And I think there are some of my colleagues in the same industry are here, and maybe we can brainstorm and get also pick your brain as well. Now, okay. So I'm between you and lunch, but I will make sure that you have time. And today, so what's my main job as Chief Data Officer? My main job, if I want to summarize in one sentence, it will be to provide insights and analytics for my senior management in their decision making. Okay. Now, obviously, the insights and analytics all comes from data, and data is always the problem. So I'm going to show you why I'm facing those the two challenges and where those two challenges come from, and they're coming from data, right? And first of all, let me share with you the type of decisions that we make at the university. And you can see this, the first one is faculty recruitment and evaluation. Now, we are different from other industry in the sense that our faculty member come in and go out. Some go out, right? And that repeats every year. And every year we have to go out and recruit. And every year there will be some who could not make it, okay? So the process that goes on is that what we need to do is we need to do evaluation. Every year we need to do evaluation. And that evaluation of faculty involves at least 23 people. So it's not one single boss that say, okay, I'm going to keep you, I'm going to fire you. And there's no way around because we have what we call a tenure clock. A tenure clock means that as an assistant professor, when you come in, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 3-year contract. And at the end of it, if you cannot make it, you have to show yourself out, okay? Because that's the end of your tenure. And we're going to go out and find another one to replace you. So we do this all the time, right? It is never an equilibrium. Right? There will be few that will keep, and then we replace, and then if the program grows or the department grows, we have to hire more. But that's the process that we go through. And it involves 23 people, at least 23 people. And out of those 23 people, there are some that are external, outside. And they are our competitors, that involve our competitors as well in evaluating our faculty member. And that's the process that we go through, right? So there is a lot of decision making in there. Not about individual cases, but at the senior management level, we talk about what's the structure and the process that we need to design to allow this process to be implemented at the individual department and school level, so that we keep the best faculty member that we can get, and we get the best faculty member that we can have. Right? That's the issue that we face. Second type of decision that we have is about program and course evaluation. Every year, there are about 2,000, roughly 2,000 courses that run through, just undergraduate, okay? I'm not even counting master level program. There are many more of the master level. Even undergraduate alone, 2,000 plus program. So we have to have a good structure to evaluate those 2,000 programs and decide what to keep and what to continue, including programs, right? That is the kind of decision that we need to make as well. Now, again, at the senior management level, the provost and the provost council have to decide what kind of structure that we put in place to make sure that we refresh our offering constantly, right? We want to keep up to date. We want to keep our graduate up to date. We want to train the best employee for you, right? Third one is student admission. Again, this is not as a, every year if you are a business out there, you try to recruit your customers and your customer keep with you, there will be some loyal customers. In education sector, we get our student come in, 4 years later they go out. So we're constantly losing customers and we're constantly trying to get new customers, okay? Things has changed a little bit. Now we're talking about continuing education. There's a change of mentality and framework, and university is basically saying that, look, you're forever our student. We want to keep training you. It is not a scam. Huh? It is really a serious thing because have you seen AI coming on? Everyone feels that they should be trained too, right? If you have not been exposed to this, you need to be trained and come to NTU. We have the School of Computing and Data Science, and AI is very much featured in there. So this is something that a process that we train. So we have student in and out, and again, we need a process and a system that will deal with that. And obviously, student assessment, we do grade our student. And finally, university reputation, right? We need to make sure that we are competitive. We need to make sure that we collaborate with the right institute, with the right university. We collaborate with our competitors as well. And we need a process to evaluate that as well, right? These are the type of decisions that we face, okay? And today, I'm just going to use one of them as an illustration for the two challenges that I face. I do face all those challenges in all these 5 types of decisions. And these are the things that keep me awake at night. So hopefully you can, let me have a bit more sleep along the way in the future. Now, what are the 2 challenges? First, what I face is an uneven data coverage, meaning that, and I'm sure every one of you face that kind of situation. That means you don't get all the data that you want. And a lot of time, there's a big chunk of the data on the particular part of it that is missing. And it is missing not because you're not collecting it. It is missing because those people are not coming to you to give you that data. And you need to know that. Because if you don't know that you're missing those data, you're going to, what happened to you? You're going to, when you give this to, if I'm giving this to my boss, and my boss make the wrong decision because I don't have a good data coverage, I'm in trouble, right? So this is something that I want to make sure as a chief data officer, I want to make sure that the insight and the analytics that I generate for my boss to make decision is complete and correct. And these are the 2 challenges that I'm facing to ensure that is what's going to happen, right? So you can have, there are 2 types of uneven data collection. One is you have uneven in terms of, for example, give you an example, maybe most of you're seeing a lot of male customers. You're seeing very few or no female customers, okay? So your data is very male heavy, okay? And what are you going to do with that? That's even uneven data coverage. Uneven in the sense that it is the same data variable called gender, but you have uneven in terms of the label. And there is also uneven data coverage based on different variables. Maybe you're very even in age. You know, you have coverage over all different age group. It is according to the census that you are seeing. It's very well covered, but not on your gender. So there is uneven there. Across range and within range. These are the kind of uneven data coverage that I'm facing. Now, so what's the problem here? I'll show you the challenge later on, but the key fact is this. Human beings, when make decisions, tend to lean towards the variables or the parameters that are most clear. They tend to avoid ambiguous data, ambiguous side of the data, and focus on the clear part of the data. You want to be easy. So you look at the data, and the data tell you that, okay, on this variable is very clear. Option A gives you better return than option B. Okay, variable 1. But variable 2, very muddy. You don't know how it's going on. You have a lot of measure, and it's very ambiguous, and you cannot rely on variable 2 to make your decision. What do? You lean towards variable 1. You say, oh, you know, this is giving a very clear signal, so I'm going to just look at variable 1 and use that to decide. Okay? And that is going to cause a problem, because it could potentially be the fact that variable 2 is the one that is going to show you, and it is going to be the one that is more important in deciding which one is which option is the better one for you. Okay? So I'll give you an example later on. Now, second one is a bias preference towards decision errors. Okay? Give a simple example. You have two options to choose, option A and option B. Okay? Now, you're going to potentially make two errors. One is you choose the best option, not knowing that whether the other one is the better one. So you choose an option, okay, trying to make sure that, this is something that I probably am not going to choose a worse option, but it's the one that you forego a better one. Okay? Now, people like to avoid making mistakes. They always choose the one that they will, because they hate something that keep reminding them. You don't want to choose someone that later on you will regret. Because you'll constantly be there reminding you that you have made the wrong decision, you have made the wrong decision, you have made the wrong decision, right? But then, sometimes the one that is actually better off is the one that you have forgone. Okay. I'm going to show the graph to show you what does it mean. In our technical term, it's called error one, type 1 and type 2 error, okay? Or false positive or false negative. Like false negative, a false negative decision is not going to be in your face because you never see it. You think that this is a wrong choice. So therefore, you did not take it. But it's a wrong choice. You never chose it. So you never face it. You never know that you make mistake. Or maybe you do, but you don't, later on if you go and find out. Now, what is a false positive? False positive is something that you think that, oh, this is a correct choice I have. I chose it, but it turned out to be the wrong one. But you have to live with the consequence, right? The false negative is something that you don't live with because it doesn't remind you. And that is the strong preference that people have. And that pushes you into having a preference, a bias preference toward the error, the type of error that you're committing. Okay. Now, so let me, why do we face this constantly, especially in the education sector? As I mentioned, we constantly have to judge people and have to choose people, whether it's student or faculty member. It constantly go through our university, and we have to constantly make decisions whether do we make the right choice, do we make the right choice, right? And a lot of time, we don't have data that is readily put in front of you. that says that here, this is all the data that you have, and you make a choice. And it's not as simple and easy as 1, 2, 3, right? And you might think otherwise in terms of student admission, oh, we just look at A-level score, we just look at IB score and whatnot. Not as simple as that. There are multiple factors that comes in. How do we, there are a lot of feedbacks, there are a lot of review reports that doesn't give you a scale. No referees will come in and tell you that, hey, Dr. Chong, for this particular candidate, from a scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving the person 5. I'm giving a person 7. Okay? No such thing. We have to evaluate, and we have to compose, and we have to extract whatever is being said in the referee report, and we have to compile and combine and aggregate until we get a number, until we get a position. And that's the difficult part that makes these two challenges even more challenging that we have here. Now, of course, we also face with the problem of non-response bias. Like what I said just now, maybe certain group of students doesn't like to come to NTU. I don't know. I mean, I'm just speculating. Huh? And then we never see that data, right? If we don't see that data, how do we go about and try to convince that group of students to come? Because they've never seen that data. Same thing for customer, right? If you're missing a group of customer that you never had data with, and how do you begin to try to attract that group of customers? So that's called non-response bias. We don't have that data. We never know how to deal with that group of customers. So what's challenge one? Now, if you think about the decision you make, right? You have multiple factors. How do you make a decision? One way to make decision essentially is you take all the different factors. Suppose there are 10 different factors they are looking at. You put a weight on each one of them, and you put a score on each one of them, and you sum them up, you look at the score. I'm being simplifying, okay? I'm being simplifying. I know that decision doesn't come along easily that way. But if you do that, you need to put a weight to each of those factors, right? It could be a weight of 0 and 1. That is still weighting it, right? This is aggregation. Another way that deal with it is sequential. What is sequential? You pick the most important factor, you decide which one wins out. Let's say there are two options, option A and B. Which one wins out? And then you look at factor 2, you see which one wins out. And then we try to score and see which one has more win. And then you choose the one that has more win, right? Now, whatever way you do, these are typically the two types of decision process that you go through. No matter what, it involves weights. It involves your idea of which one is more important, which factor is more important. Okay? That's the weight. Now, if you keep to your weight, if you think that, okay, my weight is guided by my value and my whatever vision, mission, and whatnot, okay, that's fine. And you stick with it, that's fine. But the problem here is, when you look at the data, and when I present the data or present the analytics and insight to my management, and I say that, oh, this part of it, we don't have much data, it's very ambiguous. And it happens to be the most important factors that the top management thinks that they need. But if I tell them, very ambiguous, I don't have much data to deal with here, what would they do? They'll just say, oh, this one doesn't help me decide, So what do? I go to the second most important, and I go to the third most important until I encounter one that gives me a very clear answer. And the clear answer tells me that option A is better than option B. Now, here, this is a problem, because you're avoiding the ambiguity of the data for the most important variable, and you are relying on the third and fourth important variable and trying to decide on that. And that's the problem. So as my function is to make sure that that doesn't happen. If I let that happen, I'm not doing my job. And how do I deal with this? Right? How do I deal with this? Now, we always say, oh, let's just get more data, right? Let's just get more data. Okay, what if it is not possible to get more data. Now, this is something that I do. It may not be possible for me to get more data, but if I know of roughly the range of the data that might turn out to be, what do? I do sampling, which is what I call simulation. I just sample. Sample until I have enough power to say that, oh, through that sampling, I drive away some of the ambiguity, and then I present those data to my management. Okay. Now, not that I'm asking them to make decision on a simulated data. I'm telling them essentially how sensitive their decision is to this non-availability of data, to the how sensitive those are to those things. That's the way I argue for my boss to give me more money to go and look for more data, right? You have to find a way, and this is a way to show that it is important to get more data. And how do I show it? I show it by simulation. I show it by telling them that, look, this is what is going to happen. Unless you agree on certain point, unless you want to, and make it very clear that if they're willing to accept a certain assumption, I can get an even more refined data for them to make a clearer decision. So that's a step that I take. Okay. Now, another one that I usually take is benchmarking. Left, right, and center. Right? Top and bottom. What do I do? Give you an example on faculty recruitment. So I want to recruit someone. I don't know how good that person is. So therefore, the first thing that I need to do is I want to benchmark. How good is this person? Right? Naturally, my boss will ask me, oh, how good is this? So what do? I find people who are their peers all over the world. Right? Find people who are their peers, and I try to construct a profile. And I find people who are slightly, graduated slightly earlier than them, I form a profile. So you're going to see what? You're going to see their peers. You're going to see people who are 3 or 4 years earlier than them. Okay? You're going to see their peers in the local institution, within NTU itself. You're going to see the peer that is outside, maybe in Hong Kong, or some in Europe and some in US. So essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to corner that candidate's profile with other profiles that are providing as approximation. I'm able to use as a benchmark to let them gauge how good is this person. I don't have enough data on this person to be able to determine that he's the best, or he's up here, right? But I'm just trying to corner him in such a way that, oh, he's going to be within this bound. So essentially what I'm doing in benchmarking, I'm providing a range for my boss to decide, is this acceptable to you? You're getting someone in this range. I can't give you a more precise one. This is a range defined by this group of people. What would you do? Decide on that. And that's what I do for uneven data coverage. Okay. Now, how much time do I have? 5 minutes, I have 5. Okay. So the other one is what I call type 1, type 2 error. Okay. So type 1 error is error of selecting a worst option. You think that you are selecting the best option, but you're not. So it's called false positive, right? The type 2 error is error of missing out on a better option. So this is false negative. You reject, but you're rejecting the wrong option. Okay. Now, for a decision maker, you tend to have preference towards committing type 1 error. Now, if you have done any statistics, you might have learned hypothesis testing, and they will tell you 95% confidence interval, which means that it is 2.5% alpha. Alpha is called type 1 error. Okay? So type 1 error is the 2.5%. Now, what is the usual number that people use for type 2 error? 20%. So people in general, okay, as a rule of thumb, out in the whatever statistical world, it will become accustomed to 95% confidence interval. Although people talk less about 20% type 2 error, people don't want to talk about it because Most people prefer type 1 error, right? But these two are linked. That's why I'm asking you, pay more attention to type 2 error. Can you afford to be a type 2 error? Can you afford to commit a type 2 error? Right now, it's 1 to 10. No, 1 to 10, sorry. 2.5%, right? Let's say 5%. So it's 1 to 4. What you are saying is that every 4 type 1 error is the same as 1 type 2 error. Okay? You are hiring 4, you're potentially hiring 4 mediocre, you're okay with committing 4 error in the face versus 1 that you're missing out. Because you're worried that it will be in your face, so you keep it very low, right? 5%, 2.5%. Now, so if I may, okay, I know this is, I used to be a professor, so it has to be a graph. You have to have a graph to represent the idea. So you have 2 options, right? You have 2 options. Option A is the blue curve. Option B is the red curve. Now, you are not sure about the quality. That's why it is a distribution, right? And the distribution is for option A, the mean means the mean rating, the mean quality of the candidate potentially is 7. And the mean for option B is around 8, okay? 7 and 8, the mean, okay? But you are not sure because of the distribution, okay? Now, what is type 1 error? Type 1 error is that you are choosing option A because the number that you saw is above roughly 7.7. Can you see the number? Probably not. Okay, you see that black bar? Black bar is actually at 7.7. Okay, anything above 7.7, if you care about type 1 error, you're saying that, oh, okay, I see 7.7. I think he is better than 7. I think he is much better. But that is exactly the error you make. Because somehow it tikam, you get 7.7. But he's actually a 7, okay? Because some way you tikam, there are 2.5 or 5% that he's going to get this 7.7. Lucky, multiple exam, and this exam comes out 7.7, but he's actually a 7. That is a type 1 error. So there is a very minor percentage of 5, well, in this case, I choose to be 5%, there is a chance that a person with 7 will come out to be above 7.7. And then you may conclude that, hey, you know what? I got a guy who is 7.7 or above. Must be a good guy. But when the person comes on board, you realize that he is a 7. He just got lucky and tikam 7.7, right? Same thing, if you look at that 7.7, right? And you take the red distribution, the area towards the left, well, yeah, your left, right, is called type 2 error. Okay? Now, that one essentially is saying what? Oh, I see this guy, 7.6. Wow. Very likely to be a 7 guy. But there is a 20% chance that a guy with an 8, with rating 8, there is a 20% chance that he will get below 7.7. 20% chance. So you may be missing out on someone who is actually an 8 because it happened to be that instant show you a 7.7 or 7.6. He underperformed for that just round. There is a chance, 20% chance that he underperformed. Okay? So this is the problem that I'm facing. So this is also the problem that I would like, I want to acclimatize my boss. But fortunately, my big boss is more acclimatized than I do. He cares more about this, so I don't worry about the big boss. I'm trying to worry about my other bosses. And to make sure that they are acclimatized to this, that there is a type 2 error lurking there, that you need to pay attention to. Okay, so let me wrap up here. So what do I do? Now again, collect more data. So that's always a solution, right? Collect more data and then you will get. So what do collect more data means? So let me show you how collect more data will result in. If I collect more data, right? Now, just now all the numbers I simulate. This one, I also simulate. Now, but this time round, I collect 10 times more data. Okay? Instead of that original set of data, I collect 10 times more. That means I decome 10 more times. If I decome 10 more times, the variance reduce. Now it's very clear. An 8 is an 8. A 7 is a 7. So sometimes, if you're unclear, what do? The first reaction I'll give to you is go and find more data. That's why I'll always tell my team, right? You cannot decide, go and find more data. Okay? Doesn't necessarily have to be the same set of data. But you know, a lot of times, that's not at the luxury. We are under time pressure, we are under various things. But what else can we do, right? So let me go back. So what do we do? So to me is, again, what I like to do is I like to perform sensitivity analysis and look at how much my decision will be affected by some of those operational parameters, like number of data points, like how close the assumptions are. I perform sensitivity analysis, and I advise my bosses that this is how sensitive a decision is going to be, right? If I perform, let's say, if I collect 100 times more data, and it is just squeezing a little bit, then no point, because your decision is not going to change, right? You only collect data when you know that the data is going to change your decision. Has a very high chance of changing your decision. Okay, so I think that's something that guides me in trying to address those two challenges. Is usually I'll do simulation, I'll do sensitivity analysis to make sure what's the impact on the decision if something changed. And also I'll do benchmarking, that is collecting data from the surrounding thing. Not exactly the same thing, collecting data in the neighborhood and trying to see, okay, how far is this from this neighborhood? And you're bound to be able to provide a range. And that might help you. Okay, like top and bottom, left and right, find people covering with different characteristics and trying to produce that. If you don't have data on the female, okay, let's ask a simple question. How would you think your female customer is going to behave differently? What's the key essential assumption that you need to make to make the female different from the male customers? You take that assumption, you do the simulation, you do the sensitivity analysis, and you see whether your decision will change or not. If your decision is not going to change, fine, that's it. You don't need to go and collect those data. The male data is as good as female data because you're not going to change your operation anyway. Not going to change your decision anyway. All right. So I think that's it. No time for question, but I welcome question later on, and I welcome suggestion as well later on.
Okay. Any quick question?
You are going to open. Thank you very much.
Any quick one? Any quick question? Too technical? But I think it's good, good information. Yes, good question. Quick one.
So if you base your hiring based on historical, so how do you get emergent or novel criteria for hire? Because you get this group thing. For example, I'll give you a simple example. Let's say you only hire male professors. Then how do you get female professors in? If gender was one of the criteria, yeah.
So you're talking about lacking past female data professor.
Using criteria, may not be female, but it may be something else. Like for example, a technical background versus a qualitative background. So if your decision process is that we want to hire quantitative researchers, but then you miss out on the qualitative one, which is something you're trying to get, yeah.
Right. Oh, so I mean, again, there's always benchmark from other schools and benchmark from other universities as well that I can use to provide. Again, I'm cornering it with other different benchmarking, and that's what I will do. Yeah. Any suggestion on how I should address my challenges?
Hire randomly.
Huh?
hire randomly.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank you
Chong.
very much.
Yes, yes.